Greetings, this is Mr. Pop Culture Phenomenon here, and today I am bringing you guys another podcast. So today's video is titled, What Makes Jon Snow the Perfect King? So before we dive in, remember to like, listen, and subscribe below. Now, let's get into it. So, as you guys are all aware, I am a fan of the TV show Game of Thrones. The TV show has 8 seasons. They're currently streaming right now on HBO, and the series actually finished up a little bit under 2 years ago. I think it actually turned out to be one of HBO's top 3 shows throughout the history of their channel. And I really liked the fact that I thought it was a solid storybook turned TV adaptation. And I mean, this universe had so much success. And just kind of on a side note too, if you guys haven't heard, there is a prequel coming out in the year 2022, and it is called The House of the Dragon. And it's about the ancestral lineage of the Targaryens, who are the House of the Dragon. So, I'm assuming most of you guys have already seen Game of Thrones. Now, with this show, we all know that Jon Snow turns out to be the main character of the show. And I'm kind of hold him to a really high standard. In my video, I titled What Made Him the Perfect King? And when you get to see him in every season between 1 through 8, he was probably the number one force and the number one hero that everybody probably rooted for. And I mean, he was a guy that technically, if everybody remembers, by the end of the show, should have been king. It was his throne rightfully, and he didn't even want it. Throughout the show, the main thing as to why I really favored him as my favorite character throughout the whole entire show was because everything he did was to basically, at the end of the day, save people, save lives, and save his land. And so that's kind of what it all came down to. But when you kind of go in and get a little bit of a backstory on Jon Snow, you first find out that he is the bastard son of Ned Stark. And Ned Stark currently right now is the king of the North. Now, you can see him being raised with his siblings, and while he was being raised in comparison to his siblings, he was always treated as the outsider of the group. Now, even though he was the son of the king, the queen of the North hated him because he was born out of wedlock and it wasn't her offspring. Now, some of the examples to show you that why he was treated differently was like when the kids were growing up and they were all given pups, Jon was forced right off the bat to get the run of the litter. And when it came to sitting at the table with all the royalty during chow, Jon Snow was forced to sit at the side table, out of sight from the king and queen and siblings. Now, we do all find out later on in the show that the queen despised him and hated him while growing up. And finally, when Jon Snow becomes an adult, she finally realizes that she made a mistake and that she innocently shunned a boy that did nothing wrong to her besides just being born. And so that was one of the flaws I hated with the Queen of the North. And I mean, other than that, I thought she was a very bold and tenacious character throughout the show, and she wasn't too bad. I didn't like the commentary about when it came to how she treated Jon Snow being raised. But through this adversity, this is what shaped his character. So we all know that once Jon Snow reaches adulthood, he joins the soldiers and the men of the Night Watch. And the Night Watch, as you guys are familiar with the show, they are basically the guardians of the seven kingdoms of the world. And they basically protect the civilization from any unknown outside forces. Now, Jon Snow, during his time with the men of the Night Watch, shows exceptional swordsmanship. And not only does he show excellent swordsmanship, but he also shows excellent leadership. And when the time comes to vote for a new leader, Jon Snow is voted as the youngest and newest leader of the men of the Night Watch. So, and that just goes to show you with what type of personality that Jon Snow has. He's young, but he can lead. He's ahead of his time. He's always basically like front line of the battle, trying to lead everybody to victory. And so, the number one first thing he did as a leader of the men of the Night's Watch was that he united them with their worst enemy, which was the wildlings who lived on the other side of the wall. Now, that just goes to show you what type of character that he has. And he basically unites two known enemies who have been fighting each other for hundreds of years because he lets them know that, hey, this upcoming winter, our petty bickering and squabbling won't mean nothing if we don't come together as a human being species and try to save this world. He was like, the freaking, everyone knows that the White Walkers are coming. And that it wasn't everyone knew, but only a handful of people knew that the White Walkers were coming, and that they knew that this upcoming winter was going to be the decision of whether or not the human species would live on. So he united two known enemies and brought them together. And he basically just goes to show you what type of person he is. Now, after the reuniting of the wildlings and bringing them on the other side of the wall for safety, he actually goes back to the north. And when he goes back to the north, he sees that the north is in shambles. It's been taken over by a foreign king named Ramsay Bolton. He finds out that his father's been killed. His brother, who was the next king in line, has been killed as well too by the known enemies. And his sister is taken hostage by the new guy that's running the territory, and he literally goes in, basically stops Ramsay Bolton, rescues his sister, gets revenge on the people that killed his dad and his brother, and he reunites the North. And he reunited the North even when all the Northmen didn't swear their allegiance to him at first and didn't help him out when he needed to. And he brought everybody back together and reunited the North and brought his family name back at the top of the North. And by him doing that, he is later on voted as the King of the North. So now you can see with this resume, everything that he's doing is reuniting and justifying situations. And he's already been voted leader of the Men of the Night Watch. He's already been voted leader or king of the North. But he knows winter is coming. Winter is coming. So he knows winter is coming, and he knows he's going to need more help, and that he's going to have to get the world to unite and come together to fight the White Walkers once this winter hits. And he knows, like, the winter is do or die. It is fucking, it's going to be the decision of whether or not we're going to live as a human being and as a species. So he knows Daenerys Targaryen has a huge army behind her, and she has 3 dragons. And he knows he needs that manpower and that firepower to stand a chance against the White Walkers. So even though his people didn't want him to, he chose to basically bend the knee and pledges allegiance to Daenerys Targaryen, and by him pledging allegiance, automatically the North is pledging their allegiance to her too, as he knows that, hey, we need her to stay alive. We need her if we're going to have a chance at winning this upcoming war. So he does that. And him as a king, it never came down to having an ego. It never came down to freaking, you need to succumb to me and I need to be over you. It never came down to petty squabbling. It never came down to fighting over territory. At the end of the day, all the moves and everything that he did as a character throughout this TV show was to show that he was trying to unite the people to save the human race. Even if that meant that he had to humble himself and bend a knee to another foreign king to get their firepower, then so be it. At the end of the day, his people are going to be alive, and that's exactly what he did. So, you guys know how the show plays out. He basically goes and unites them. They have the war against the White Walkers, and by him and his actions, they won the war and defeated the White Walkers and saved the human race. And none of this would have never even been possible if it wasn't for Jon Snow. Now let's just play a scenario if Jon Snow didn't choose to unite the world. The wildlings would have got overtaken. The wildlings would have basically succumbed out there on the wild on the other side of the wall by themselves. Then that would have just beefed up the White Walkers' army. Then they would have broke the wall, and then the men of the Night's Watch didn't even have the firepower or the manpower to stop them. Then you would have just added more beef to the White Walkers' army. And then the Seven Kingdoms that didn't come into uniting, they would have just got picked off like one by one. But by him bringing everybody together, by him telling us we have a chance to do this, by him getting people to unite, it's what gave the human species a chance at living on. And he saved everybody. And that's just what type of character he is. So then, the funny plot to this twist is, finally, once he gets a premonition or a vision or an epiphany, however you want to go about it, he gets the epiphany that he finds out that he is the son of the great grandson of the former king, which really goes to show you that he is truly the heir to the throne, because he is the great grandson of the former king. But not only that, but he is also from the bloodline lineage of the Starks, where you find out that the king of the North, who raised him as his bastard son, really was his uncle. And he just took in his sister's son because his sister died while giving birth. But he knows that her baby was really the rightful heir, and that he knows the king sitting on the current throne would not allow that baby to live. So he chose to raise that baby as a bastard and lie to everybody, when truthfully, he was the heir to the throne. And what made him perfect was the North had his back. He's technically a Stark anyway. And not only that, but truly too, he was the one male heir that was left to the Iron Throne. And at the end of the day, he never even wanted it at all. And that just goes to show you what type of character he is. And I remember his best friend said to him after the battle, he's like, all these sons of bitches right now are alive because of you and because of the steps and the actions you chose to take. And he was like, it was never really about trying to be the king. And it was never really trying to do what other people are doing. It wasn't over petty squabbling. It wasn't over nonsense. At the end of the day, the choices and decisions he made were to unite people and to save the world. And his actions spoke way louder than words. And then at the end of the day, everybody was still fighting over who gets to be the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms. And truthfully, he was the heir. to the fucking kingdom on the seventh throne. He was the heir to the throne and in charge of the seven kingdoms, and he still did not choose to take it or go for it. It just wasn't him. He inspired to want to do more and be more. Well, anyways, I'm just kind of giving out my 2 cents on the character Jon Snow, and I hope you guys like the commentary that I'm putting out. Remember to like, listen, and subscribe below. And this is Mr. Pop Culture Phenomenon here. Take care and have a good day.